Hello, I'm Tara Ward, best known for playing Preston in Doctor Who, and even nowadays I still seem to be chasing that Merker around the place. And you are listening to Mark Who 42.
Mark Who 42 would like to welcome one of our sponsors, Highlander Novelties Comics and Games. They are run by my good friends Christian and Wendy Gillespie. Christian, they are good people, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I was just about to say, I was like, I don't run that store. Or
Not
the other
you,
Christian.
The other Christian. Highlander Novelties is a one-stop shop for pop and geek culture items.
Yes.
They specialize in the unique and throwback characters from the past and present. They've got comic books. They've got decals for your car. They've got signs. They make them themselves. You should visit them at 364 Story Road in Ocoee, Florida. That's like right outside Orlando, isn't it, Christian?
A bit northwest outside of Orlando. Yeah, we were very excited to be part of the grand opening that they had out there and are even more excited that they've joined the family of sponsors here at Mark Who 42. You can check them out on their Facebook site. Again, as Mark mentioned, they are in Ocoee, Florida, located at 364 Story Road. Check out their Facebook site for their business hours. Check out for also any specials going on. I believe on their site they're having a special on October the 28th for Halloween Comic Fest.
Yes, they're having the Halloween Comic Fest 2017 and costume contest on the 28th. Just look up Highlander Novelties in the search bar and you'll find them. And please don't forget to tell them Mark Who 42 sent you. Welcome to Mark Who 42 here on Krypton Radio. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, and with me today are...
Christian Basel.
Iggy Mathews.
Sign Kuros.
Yeah, we're all here, and we've got a great show for you today. We actually have... Well, you know how Jodie Whittaker has been picked to be the 13th Doctor? Right, guys? I'm waiting for your response.
What?
Your response.
Whoa! When did that happen?
If you don't know this, I'm sorry for the people that are laying in the internet rock that they haven't come out of.
I've been living under my couch.
We're going to get them from under their rock in today's episode because we're going to basically have a he said, she said kind of show. That's why the title of the show is He Said, She Said. We're going to have Iggy have a panel with women talking about the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be
fun. Should be interesting. I got a couple interesting questions. I'm excited to see what the responses are going to be.
And we've got Christian Basel, who will be hosting the male panel.
Manly men. Yep, I got some questions too, and we're going to see from two different perspectives about what they think about lucky number 13. So this is going to be an interesting episode.
And Zion and I will just twiddle our thumbs, right, Zion? Indeed. But
because they are gender fluid when it comes to our conversation.
Yes, we are. Oh. Anyway, we could go on trading insults all day long, but first, let's go to... Mark Who 42 News with the Mark Who 42 anchor people, Iggy Mathews and Christian Basel. It's the anchor team people of the century. So,
good morning, San Diego.
Yeah. So,
anchor people. You make it sound like we're holding a bolt down or something.
No, you're our two anchor people for today. So what's going on in the world of Mark Who 42 News?
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, we hate to start off the news this way, especially that we took a week off to recover from SuperCon, but for most of you who were with us, sadly, a day or two before SuperCon was to premiere, actor John Barrowman suffered from appendicitis and had to have it removed, so he was not able to attend Florida SuperCon with us. We did have a panel on him. We did have a discussion, and we sent him via Twitter get well wishes from all the panel who were there at the time that we were doing the homage to Mr. John Barrowman, who plays Captain Jack on Doctor Who and Torchwood.
He also plays Malcolm Merlin on Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and who knows, maybe even Supergirl at some point.
So from all of us here, Mark 242, we wish John a very, very speedy recovery. I know his family was trying to get the phone away from him because he was tweeting out everything almost minute by minute, blow by blow, and play by play.
But my
So,
man,
yeah, I understand. He gets that, but I'm like, John, put that down now. Recover. So I think he is going to be at Tampa Bay MegaCon, if I'm not mistaken. And he has promised his fans, or at least in one of his messages, his tweets, that he would try again next year to come back to Florida SuperCon. So, John, Godspeed, speedy recovery. We wish you well.
All right.
get better, John. So, speaking of something a little down, I'm going to talk about a sun that just happened to come down. You guys know what I'm talking about? Sundown?
Sundown. I see what you did there. That was good.
For the listeners that don't know what that is, this is actually a Mark 242 sponsored movie. And by the looks of it, it's very emotional. Like, it goes straight for the heartstrings. So be careful, be guarded. The trailer was finally released starring Caitlin Blackwood and Fraser Hines. And of course, we got the hookup. You can go to mark242.net and watch the trailer right now. Or don't. Continue to listen to our show and then watch the trailer. That would be a better option. Absolutely. What else do you have, Christian?
Since we're talking about Scottish actors, let's go to another Scottish actor, David Tennant, who actually we have a picture on mark242.net. He is standing right next to his voice character that he will be portraying is Scrooge McDuck on the new rebooted DuckTales. We have a picture of that. Like you said,
DuckTales.
But we do have a couple pictures of David with his character that he will be portraying, and we are all excited about the upcoming series there.
You hear Darkwing Duck is going to make an appearance in DuckTales?
I would like that.
They're doing it. It's done. They've filmed that. They've animated that episode. They filmed that episode.
Oh, okay.
They've animated that episode.
Yes, they did.
It's live action Darkwing Duck. Yeah, they CGI'd everything else, and okay. Okay.
I don't know where we're going.
What I want to see, I just want to see Tailspin. I want to see it.
I just want to know, why does everyone like DuckTales so much?
We only like it because David Tennant's in it. I didn't watch it in the 90s.
It's my childhood.
I was too old to watch DuckTales, so I don't know what the thing about it is. But David Tennant as Scrooge McDuck, that excites me.
Iggy and I think at best, we both grew up with DuckTales. I loved him. I mean, as soon as I got home from school, it just happened to be playing on the afternoon cartoons. And God, it had that catchy theme song. Dun, 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 dun. So,
what else do we have in the news?
Well, mark242.net, take a shot. Carrie Fisher will have a beautiful farewell in The Last Jedi. Last December, Carrie passed away, rest her soul. With Carrie passing, fans wonder what is going to happen to Star Wars. Would they continue on? Are they going to get a replacement? What's going to happen with that? Well, the answer is yes, it will. In a quote from the co-star, John Boyega, she will be giving an amazing send-off in her final Star Wars film, end quote. So what do you guys want to see happening? I mean, obviously it's already done. So what do you guys think about this?
I still want Chewbacca to kill Han and Leia's son in the first 2 minutes to get it over with, so the blood bond is over, and then get on with the movie. That's what I want to see. Actually, I don't want to see the movie. So there.
Oh.
Okay.
Shots fired. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I didn't enjoy episode 7. I'm not really sure I want to see episode 8.
Those some fighting words.
Yeah.
Get out.
I plot pointed every single shot of the movie 5 minutes before it happened, so it wasn't exciting for me because I knew
who let this guy in here?
Happen. And I also just didn't think that doing an homage to the first trilogy was telling a story. I thought it was just all rehash, and I did not enjoy it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the views and opinions of Mark 242 are not necessarily that of all the people on Mark 242.
Absolutely.
Sponsors or anything related to what Mark says.
Well, when you don't follow the news, so you don't know that Harrison Ford has only signed a one-picture deal, so he's probably going to die in this one. So you don't know that. And 10 minutes into the film, you go, oh, Han's going to die at the end of this one. And then he dies at the end of this one. There's no point in enjoying the movie. I did like the dialogue of all the characters from the old movies. All the new characters did not have any interest in them. The only names I remember are Finn and Rey. I don't know any of the other characters' names. I don't even know the name of Han and Leia's son. I don't care. I did not like the movie.
Anyway, to the good part of the news. Speaking of Star Wars,
I am crying. I am crying.
That's happy feeling. Everybody has their own opinion. I totally understand.
I like Doctor Who. Period. Yeah.
You know what, Doctor Who likes Star Wars. You're a terrible person who would let you into it.
I like Blake 7. That was good too.
Anyway, let me go ahead on to the news. Speaking of Star Wars, maybe this might cheer up Mark a little bit. If you ever want to live the Star Wars experience, and I do mean literally coming here to Walt Disney World in a galaxy called Florida, you will be able to do that circa 2019. That's when it's scheduled to come out. Disney's Star Wars Galaxy Edge. That's right, folks. You will be living in scenes from Star Wars. You will get your own uniform. I mean, this is... Wow, the House of the Mouse is really going to ratchet this particular hotel up. This world will have many things that you can interact with, and the best part about your hotel, you will get the feel of being in Star Wars. There is the Star Wars announcement of the hotel. There is a video linked up to marku42.net on the webpage if you want to check it out to get more details about that. But if you ever wanted to live the Star Wars life, you will have a chance 2019. I'm still waiting for the TARDIS Hotel, which is bigger on the inside, has a swimming, an Olympic-sized swimming pool and all that. That's what I'm waiting for.
Everyone's waiting for that.
The entire hotel crew will be wearing red shirts, so in the event of a firefight, you are fine. You will not be harmed at all.
At least not on Star Trek.
That's funny. Okay.
So, like, the thing about this hotel, from these pictures, it looks like that they're still alienating the Clone Wars. And I don't see no reason to not add in episodes 1 through 3, because from my point of view, from the side that grew up with the prequels, it has really good content. And since now we're dealing with another generation coming up, hence why I have no problem with episode 7 being a plug into Star Wars for the next generation. They should add the entire story rather than just half of the story to this hotel.
They just put out the artist drawings of what the hotel may look like. That might not be in the final thing, and it's still got a couple of years before it premieres out. So that might happen. Who knows?
Well,
I know that
in a sense, I feel like they will probably just do half of it, just so that way in the future they can be like, guess what else is coming? Because I mean, the hype is always going to die. So here in like 5 years, if you can add another wing or another event, which is additional stories, I think that would be the smart way to do it instead of throwing it out. All of it, we all go crazy and ham, and then, well, I've seen everything there is to see regarding this. Now we're going back.
Well, Star Wars has become Disney's version of Harry Potter right now, as far as geekdom is concerned. And it just does, in the fact that it just doesn't seem to die, and even though it might take some wilderness years of its own, it'll come back in another trilogy or something like that. I think Disney is not far from done from, especially if they're going to make a hotel that intricate. They're not going to just put up well, forget it. 5 years from now, we're just going to change it out. But yeah, I'm totally excited. I mean, if I would love to work there. It's not too much of my geekdom, but yeah, I would love to try it someday. Just to see what it's about. They were showing part of a spaceship and the bunk beds are in the wall and parents' bed have these rollaway cots or something. Like it just looked really, really, I'm ready for this.
What gets me is that apparently the window view is also going to be that celestial view. And I'm sitting here wondering what's going to happen as soon as you step out of the hotel room. You're like, wow, building. Hey!
you go from TIE Fighter to Disney bus. And you go, what the hell is happening?
Yes.
I got to get on a second to go to the Magic Kingdom. What?
No, I think I'm going to have flashbacks. I'm like, after being in Japan for so long, I flew from Japan and back to the States, and I'm like, we're all the big cars with tiny wheels. I'm not. We're all driving on the left side of the car again. I'm not ready.
Mark, what do you think about this hotel? Would you stay there?
I'd stay there because, I even though I didn't like Star Wars 7, I still like the Star Wars universe. I'm in the middle of reading Empire's End Aftermath right now, the third book that leads up to that movie that I hated. And, I've been reading Tarkin, and I've been reading all the novels that are now considered canon in the new universe. So I do like Star Wars. So I will probably stay at that hotel, especially because Disney sort of bores me now because I've seen everything that they had before. But now that but now that they have the James Cameron world, as you know, and they're coming up with the Star Wars world, I'm excited about that. I'm going to go back to Disney for those things.
I got to give Disney credit, and especially I've been there recently. I've been driving around. There is like construction all over the frickin' place. Either one thing or another. They're building new roads coming in or going out. They're building new resorts. I mean, it's just, they're really ratcheting it up. And if you, depending upon which YouTube channel that you believe, there are so many rumors going around. They're going to give Epcot a total facelift, which is desperately needed. There's tons of things going on. So they're really ratcheting it up. And I'm very excited, to go back there and check out what comes next. I haven't seen Pandora yet. I mean, and from what I understand, it's hard to even get into Pandora right now because it's still very popular, but I would love to check it out.
Pandora is what they're calling the world.
It's the land
Avatar.
in Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Avatar. So now, not only will I be confused when someone says Pandora, if they're talking about the music service or the jewelry store, now I get confused even more that they're talking about Disney World. This is not good. One Pandora.
The fact that you're confused tells me that you're very well versed.
Pandora, one per person. That's all we should have. One Pandora.
I'll tell you this. As a child, I always hated Epcot. Hated it.
Epcot is for the intellectuals to go to. It's not a ride park. It's just...
my parents would be like, "We're going to Disney." I was so excited. Do you have any idea how mad I was when I saw them getting Epcot tickets? You have betrayed my tiny trust. Everything that I thought you were, you are not right now.
I loved Epcot. I thought that was I was into that future stuff.
I'm like, where are the rides? Mm-hmm. Where are the rides? There's two. Are you kidding me?
You go to Magic Kingdom for the rides. You go to Epcot for the fun.
That's what I want to go. Oh, no.
I love Epcot. I especially love it now, but I wish that, they would kind of go back to somewhat of their origins of what they were trying to do with Epcot. But if this facelift is what I'm hearing from the rumor mill, then okay, I'll wait. not just some, just some Frozen movie that they put up in Norway. I'm hoping that they really with a wait time of 4 hours that you can't get in, and it's Disney needs this. Disney desperately needs this change. I'm hoping they're moving into the right direction because I'm still a little iffy about calling downtown Disney Springs. I just can't do it.
Disney Springs, what? I don't know why they keep changing
it's the
name
same
of their town.
There's a story behiend it, but if you don't understand the story, then it doesn't work. And I was asking people, so what do you think of Disney Springs? They go, oh, they're adding a water park? I'm like, oh, is that what you think?
Didn't they have 3 water parks at one time?
Yeah, they got rid of
Wet n Wild.
No,
that's
not Disney. That's not Disney.
Yeah, Wet n Wild is gone, but it's River Country.
But they still got rid of it.
Yeah.
Well, it just got absorbed over by the campgrounds, the wilderness camp.
Funny.
Anyway, Iggy, it's your turn.
I hate Epcot. That should be a news story. I hate Epcot. All right, Marku42.net and Star Trek fans who have Android or iPhones, which is the better choice. Now you can command your own crew in the starship with the help of your favorite Star Trek characters. Okay, so I'm personally going to be making a game, and I would like to see what y'all are going to be making as well. Who's going to be the most superior one? The Android and Apple devices will let you command the starship in a 3D as you navigate, explore, and battle during your mission to see the galaxy. I think this is pretty cool. It's very hands-on. And if you go on Marku42.net, you can see the details of the uniforms, and it seems like you have 4-star characters. Don't expect any of the red shirts to have above 2 stars, okay? Because just drop your expectations right now.
They have
not gonna
1
happen.
hit point.
If it even lands, dang it.
Yeah, Kirk has like 50 hit points, red shirt 1. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Marku42.net, if you go there, you will see just a little bit of a trailer on the inside of this game and how it's working, how it's functioning out. Now, mind you, there is no artificial intelligence behind their augmented reality. This is not Pokemon Go. This is just straight up a little pastime game that you can get real into it and then feel really ashamed that you actually put money into it at some point, It's all right. We've been there. Christian, back to you.
For anybody who has been a big fan of the classic episode, and I think it's the only episode, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, that it was written by Douglas Adams, Shada, which is the one that...
Well, he wrote The Pirate Planet for Key to Time. He also co-wrote that wonderful story in Paris, City of Death, under the name David Agnew. So, yeah, he's written 3 and he was script editor for a year.
Gotcha. Well, unfortunately for the fans of Shada, the episode that never premiered because of a BBC production strike, and they decided at the end it wasn't worth following up and pursuing. Now, there are 2 episodes in the WHOniverse existence. One was narrated by Tom Baker, which they show footage from the episode, and he narrates the other parts of the episode that didn't exist. He tried to connect the dots so everybody got to get an idea of what the episode was all about. Later on, Big Finish gets with Paul McGann, and they kind of do a little homage reboot to it, but Paul's doctor is in it and kind of explains that little segment of Shada that we see in the 5 Doctors of the reason why they... there was a little time glitch and they couldn't explain it and they just kept on going. So they had an assignment they were supposed to do. They were there for a reason, but they never finished.
There was also a bootleg copy that floated around in the 80s. That was cool.
Oh, interesting. I'm sure you got a copy of that. Well, for all
we're not
who want to see this episode, it will now be animated. It will be the next animated adventure, filling in the blanks for what we wanted to see in Shada in that particular episode. All these new articles are on our who42.net, but definitely keep an eye out on our Twitter and our Facebook page for any updates that we get as this particular episode comes to its fruition in its full story, and I believe it'll be a cinematic release if I'm not mistaken.
It'd be nice if it was, yeah.
Should do it.
And on that note, also make sure that you're looking at your theater's scheduling because the 5 Doctors done by Riff Tracks will be premiering. So keep, like I said, you can keep an eye on Marku 42. We might be announcing where we're going to see it in theaters, but definitely you want to keep out at your local theater itself, your AMC, your Fandango, whatever you use to go see your theater. There might be a Riff Track of the 5 Doctors coming to you. So keep an eye on that.
That up. Weekend Targets, the Doctor Who fan club that I run in South Florida, is having a field trip to go see the 5 Doctors Riff Track style. They're live screening on August 17th at the Regal Theater at Sawgrass Mills. If you're interested, we're going to meet for dinner at Johnny Rockets right across from the theater at 6 p.m. And then at 7 p.m., if you can't make dinner, we're going to meet outside the theater to go in for the 7:30 showing. And it's going to be fun in the sun. And goldfish are nibbling at my toes.
Okay, Mark, I'd see you driving a big yellow bus with all of your crew.
Wait.
No, they have to meet us
singing
there.
Doctor Who songs.
Yeah, we're going to do that. The wheels on the TARDIS go.
And on that note, folks, that concludes our Marku 42 news. Again, if you want to keep the conversation going and more information about all the articles that we mentioned, please check out marku42.net. And this news segment of Marku 42 has been brought to you by Cosplay Convention Center. You can see more information about them at marku42.net. The great thing about this is they are a database for cosplayers, for practically anybody who works in the convention limelight. If you're looking for us, they have a database that not only narrows down where we're going to be, but if you're looking, let's say, for Doctor Who conventions in your area, Doctor Who conventions in general, or other genres, you can go to their site and you can go into the database, narrow down your search to locations that are close by to you. It's a wonderful database tool to use if you need information about your favorite genre, your favorite podcast, where they're going to appear, all of that. Check it out for yourself. Go down to marku42.net and click on the icon for Cosplay Convention Center. You'll be glad you did. Tell marku42.net sent you.
So, okay. That was the news, and so I'm glad that we got that done with because, well, that talk of Star Wars really hurt my head. All right. Well, like I said, we're doing a he said, she said, all about Jodie Whittaker, and because he said is the first part of the saying, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to have manly men here on Marku 42 on Krypton Radio. We'll be right back.
Speaking, my ears hurting.
We'll be right back, guys.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Mark Who 42 after this.
Hey, Mark, are you busy?
Well, I'm kind of doing my podcast right now, honey.
I want to show you this website. I saw these cool things at Florida SuperCon, and the website is www.drwhocrystals.com. You know my birthday's coming up.
It is. Let me type that up right now.
So do you see this? They are laser-engraved crystals with pictures of the Doctor in the TARDIS. I want one for the living room. I've always wanted to have a TARDIS in the living room, but I've always been afraid that it's going to look like a,
But, these look really good. I mean, they're 100% crystal, and it looks like Peter Capaldi. And I know that at Florida SuperCon, these guys, because I did meet them, and these guys got the rights to Peter Capaldi's likeness. They've had the likeness of the first and second Doctor. They've made them. Really want one of these?
Yeah, I've heard that they work closely with the BBC to get the pictures just right, and we really have to order one. It only weighs about 3 pounds. It's a real thing of beauty, okay? It looks elegant, and you have to check it out. Their website is www.drwhocrystals.com, and they are so affordable, Mark, that I want one for my birthday. And then, in a couple of months, the holidays are coming up. Get one for me then, too.
You got it, hon.
Hello, I'm Nicholas Briggs,
The voice of many monsters on Doctor Who.
and executive producer of Big Finish Productions. And I'm pleased to announce that Mark Who 42 Books have joined forces with Big Finish to bring you Big Finish Audio.
There's this fella who calls himself the Doctor, and he says he has saved me, and we are in his time machine.
You all right? I think I've broken something. What about you?
Yes, I'm fine, thanks.
I rather think I broke your fall.
Oh, sorry.
Mark Who 42 Books will now offer to bring you the best in Big Finish audio.
But why are they here?
How do you do?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, no need to. I'm the Doctor, and this is...
I am Leela.
By all means, please do come out to play, Doctor. I'm waiting for you.
To find where Mark Who 42 Books will be, go to markwho42.net or on their Facebook site at markwho42.
What are you saying? They fizzled in somehow? Like the TARDIS?
Yeah, transmat from another dimension. The TARDIS doesn't fizzle. It's more of a...
Also go to markwho42.net and download my interview with the team.
You're executive producer at Big Finish Productions.
Correct.
Correct.
Is this a quiz?
Mark Who 42, taking you to the WHOniverse and beyond.
Hi there, everybody. It's Sophie Aldred here, also known as Ace from Doctor Who and Sophie from Strangeness in Space and Lady McDermott from Pops and Monsters, but mainly Ace from Doctor Who. And you are listening to the excellent, quite marvellous Mark Who 42.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Mark Who 42, taking you to the WHOniverse and beyond. I am Christian Basel. We are going now to do the blokes side of this panel, the men's side, and the discussion of the 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker. But before I give my take on this, I want to introduce everybody and see their take on this. So without further ado, gentlemen, let's go ahead and start. Mr. John Reed Adams, would you begin and describe what you do?
I'm an actor, writer, director. Currently, I'm producing editorial shorts and film reviews on my channel, Narcotic Casserole, which is viewable on YouTube. That's currently what I'm up and happening right now. That's for me.
We already know what Mark Baumgarten does.
I'm Mark Baumgarten. I host a show called Mark Who 42 that you may be listening to. I will be appearing at Space Coast Comic Con in September, and then in October, a gentleman who will be introducing himself in a few minutes will be letting me participate in a wonderful convention called Time Lord Expo, and I'll let him talk about that.
You got it. But before we get to that gentleman, we're going to go to the other gentleman, better known as another doctor, another favorite doctor of ours from Gallifrey Stands Podcast, Dr. Squee.
You sort of given it away. I am Dr. Squee from the Gallifrey Stands podcast. I've also been known to do a bit of acting and writing, and sometimes appearing on lovely shows like this.
Awesome. And last Well, not last, but Patrick Baumgartner. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
First of all,
Mr.
Patrick, are you related to me in any way, shape, or form?
No, your last names are different.
Are you sure?
Yeah, but it's possible.
I mean, because when we came over from the old country, they did change our names on the island, so we could be.
yeah, it's quite possible. I'm here in Ohio, and there's like
See,
4 or 5.
that's how we got the gig, Christian. That's how we got
So how was Ellis Island back then?
Ellis Island was beautiful. I met Captain Jack and his lovely boyfriend there from Miracle Day, and it was wonderful.
Awesome. Well, everyone, I just have a question for you, and I'm going to start with you, Dr. Squee. I want your take, not on Jodie, but the first female doctor. What did you see when you first saw Jodie in that YouTube video?
Well, we got it on TV. Like, first of all, it was on...
yeah, they got it after Wimbledon.
Lucky.
When
During
you
the
saw
tennis.
it on TV, what was it like?
That's the second time they've tricked me into watching sports. I'm not impressed, but that's another story.
They do that all the time on the BBC. They force you to watch sports. It's weird.
Dr. Squee, what was your impression when you first saw the first female doctor?
I was really pleased myself. I just love the idea that, I really didn't want it to be just another straight white man. I just thought that the stories it can open up, having a female doctor, the ideas you can play with, or you can not play with it. If you just want to do a Doctor Who story as you've always done it, there's nothing that a female doctor couldn't have done pretty much in any of these adventures we've had so far that a male doctor couldn't. But you can do other stories as well. So it can make a difference when you want it to. It doesn't have to when you don't have to. I was kind of really surprised by some of the reaction. I wasn't surprised that it created quite a lot of reaction, but to me, the whole thing of people saying they're not going to even give it a go or not even watch it once. Some of these people have been watching Doctor Who their whole lives, and that's all it takes to stop you watching your favourite show. Like, they could have cast David Hasselhoff, I'd still give it a go. You know, there's over here.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
No, I'd still watch. There was nothing
After
that would stop
Hyde,
me.
I don't know.
There's nothing that would stop me at least watching the first episode.
Dr. Squee, we're actually...
Reclaiming my time.
No, that's okay. Dr. Squee, we were going to actually delve into that a little bit later in the discussion, but Mr. John Reed Adams, can you give me the take? The first time you saw Jodie pop up on the screen, what did you think?
Honestly, I kind of saw it coming a mile away. Not Jodie Whittaker specifically, but a female doctor, because honestly, that's the way the tide's been going. I mean, actually, bless him, Moffat has actually been kind of helping work towards us getting used to the idea. I mean, let's face it, one of the reasons... he actually, I remember correct, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, the way we're going to get someone to accept the notion of a female doctor is we got to find an actor who's so good that we can accept that this person used to be William Hartnell. And having seen her in Attack the Block and all that other works, I was like, oh yeah, no, they nailed it. But you got to vibe with Missy that it was kind of an exercise to kind of help us acclimatize the idea that a woman could inhabit a role previously inhabited by someone who was overtly masculine. I mean, let's face it, Missy, I love Missy so much, I can totally buy that she was once Roger Delgado. So they were kind of helping us get used to the idea. So now that when it inevitably came, I was like, okay, all right, we crossed that bridge. Now let's really delve into it. My major worry is that it's a man writing for a woman, which in the same way why Americans should never write British characters, there's kind of an insight that's kind of absent. So I hope against hope that Chris Chibnall's up to the task. Ironically, that's my main worry. It's not about the fact that Doctor's a woman, it's the fact that Chris Chibnall is not my favorite writer on the block.
Well, we've already had, like, the companions, obviously, throughout the run of the show. There will be female writers along the way. I don't think it'll just be a male perspective, but...
Yeah. Oh, no. Like I said, in the end, it's all going to go to the passage of time. Who knows? He might blow my mind. I mean, after all, Broadchurch was entirely Chibnall's baby, and it's entirely his. His other collaborations were under someone else's wing, so who knows? Maybe a Doctor Who under his wing could become something spectacular. So I'm one of those optimists who's just going to wait and see how it goes. But as far as the female doctor goes, I think it's going to be fine.
Well, going back to what you're saying, and then from people who believe that the doctor is gender fluid, there really is no encompassing. What difference does it make if the showrunner is male or female if they're writing to the alien part of the doctor, be it Jodie or any of her 13 predecessors?
Well, because one of the problems with a lot of male writers, and I think a recent example of how bad this can go was the Ghostbusters reboot, is when a man's writing it, they tend to hinge on female tropes. It'll wind up becoming, there's a worry that it could wind up being the Sex and the City movies, where they spend so much time doing female stereotypical jokes and not trying to refine the person as a character. That's what I'd be more worried about. Okay. Actually, the thing that would kind of crack me up, that would actually make it great, is if the Doctor when this change happened, treats it as the most natural thing possible, because by the doctor's point of view, this is a natural thing that happens all the time.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, I'm looking for that too, and I'm hoping, we've mentioned this on the show before, we're hoping that it doesn't become the running gag or the running part. We know that it might be a couple lines in there, but we're not hoping that it dwarfs the storyline that's going on in there.
It would be kind of cool taking this where the doctor treats it naturally, where the doctor will go to places where women are discriminated against, and now being in this body, realizing, what the hell, this is not how this isn't, like maybe go into the women's suffragette movement or something like that. That'd be kind of an interesting.
Kind of a quantum leapish. We're getting a little bit off
topic, and I think I've overstayed my time.
No, you're fine. This is the good stuff that we're trying to get into, but let me go ahead. Mr. Marku42 himself, first time you saw a female doctor pop up on the screen, what'd you think?
Well, I got to tell you something. The way the season was going with all the bluish men, I thought we were going to get a man from the Blue Man Group as the doctor. When that didn't happen and it was a female, I was very happy. I got to tell you something. When Tom, was it that?
As long as it was a British blue man, that's all I care about.
Yes, it was the British guy. They don't.
As long as it wasn't David
so
Cross from Arrested Development.
All right. Let me say something. When Tom Baker made the joke back in 1979 or 1981, whatever, I laughed. But you know what? I didn't think it was a bad idea. I never thought having a female doctor would be a bad idea, and it does come down to the writing. And I find it interesting that on the show we've been talking about how Stephen Moffat's a good writer but a bad showrunner in general. With Chris Chibnall, I kind of see it the other way. He's a good showrunner because Broadchurch was amazing, but some of his Doctor Who episodes were So I don't know which way we're going on this, and that is straying from the topic. A female doctor, there's nothing wrong with it. People have been asking me all week about my opinions on this, and I've been telling them the doctor is an alien. Maybe Time Lords don't have male and female. Maybe they are single-sex creatures, or maybe three-sex or four-sex creatures, and the human perception of them, we see them as looking male or female in human stereotypes, but they're not. It's the doctor. It's the same Time Lord, not a human, so the doctor shouldn't be judged by human characteristics.
Yeah, funny thing is, they even tackled it in Capaldi's first episode, the notion that people see him a certain way.
Yeah.
And the doctor's like saying, I'm still in here, I'm still me, the problem is you are having a hard time seeing me.
Yeah.
I'm still at Blue Man Group with those guys running out with the toilet papers from inside the TARDIS going bigger on the inside. Just keeps rolling out there, for the audience. Stuff like that. Just weird stuff happening. Thanks, Mark, for putting that in my head.
I'm glad I can help.
No.
Fake clowns.
It's going to be the first Meeksies doctor.
Oh, no, not the VCs, no.
Mr. Patrick Baumgarten, our Time Lord Expo man, what was your impression when you first saw the first female doctor?
I thought it was fantastic. The way I look at it, it's a shake-up that the show has needed. This last season was good, but it's needed a shake-up. We were getting into that same routine of a male doctor, almost like we were trying to rehash old stories, and I just think it was a shake-up that we needed, that the show needed. I think it's fantastic.
Well, here's the thing. Capaldi was a shake-up.
Yeah.
And especially with polls that people wanted to see in the new Doctor, a lot of them said they wanted to go back to the classic roots where it was an older gentleman.
Right.
But apparently, according to at least the geekdom that we saw, at least for the younger geekdom, especially the fangirls, that wasn't appreciated all of a sudden.
Can't really rely on a poll, because unfortunately a poll basically takes the person who votes, what they are, out of the equation.
Yeah.
You're crunching it down to numbers, and let's face it, that's why politicians screw up all the time. They rely on polls and not on the identity of the people who are voting. There were people who were probably ticked off when Tom Baker got cast for the same reason people got ticked when Matt Smith got cast, because who's that guy?
Remember when John Pertwee got cast and people were going, he's a comedian, why are we casting him?
Or Sylvester McCoy.
Sylvester McCoy,
yeah.
I think the reality of it is, though, the Doctor Who's been going for so long and has been so many things by dint of that, and it's gone through so many different sort of genres, really, within the show, that that you're never going to please everyone or all the fans. Like, there is going to be some Doctors who appeal more to a younger audience, to a kind of fangirl audience, if you will. There are going to be Doctors who appeal to the classic kind of Doctor Who fans and stuff. I mean, I've enjoyed them all for different reasons, but I think that's okay. I think it's all right that, like, there'll be some people a female Doctor won't be for, and that's fine, and it's all right. Like, it's your show's not dead. Screw all this R.I.P. Doctor Who stuff. It's like it's still there, and it will be what you want at some point. This might be what you want. You just maybe don't know this is what you want, which does happen sometimes.
I mean, the important thing is that people get used to this idea, so that way it opens up to the possibility of drastically different Doctors in the future. Granted, I mean, I applaud the bravery of just flat out going into it, a drastic change like this, because a lot of people were saying they'll probably do a gradual change and make it just someone of a different ethnicity, which I was like, yeah, we can do that too. That's still a drastic change, but not as drastic as everyone's saying, oh no, the show won't survive with the one. But you know what? They went ahead and did it. And I was like, you know what? Kudos to you for going that far.
Damn straight.
Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to bring back, interestingly enough, my previous self, probably from 10 to 15 years ago.
Oh, that previous self. I thought you were
going to say a different generation.
I was
there's 10 of me now.
Confused. I thought the one that looks like Jim Broadbent.
No. It's and
this is actually when he was a woman.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Christina. Okay. If you were to ask me 10, 15 years ago, what do you think about a female Doctor? At that time, it was a little bit of a different time for me. And I think this is the general consensus with some of the Whovians that grew up classic. To me, back then, I would have said, I'm not against the idea. I just think it's a keep it simple idea. If it's a guy, let's keep it a guy. If James Bond's a guy, let's keep it a guy. And we already denoted through writing that we have Time Lords, Time Ladies, and Time Tots. So those seems to be the genders or the stages of life in a Time Lord's world. What would you say to my 15-year-old previous self and to other Whovians that just think like that? It's like, this is not a bad thing, but let's keep it simple. You know, why do we need to do this? And I'm going to start out with you, John, because you sound more passionate about it.
Okay. I would probably tell your previous self, trust in the series, trust in its core value of change. Just ride that wave, because that's the essence of the show. It's always been about change. Just ride it. Just ride it, and you may be surprised as to where it takes you.
Gotcha. And Dr. Squee, what would you tell him and other Whovians that had that mindset?
Well, I'd have to have the conversation with myself from 15 years ago, if I'm honest, because my views on this have evolved and kind of brought on. I just think it's like, just give it a go. Like, that's the primary thing. People are making all this kind of great shakes about it without watching one frame of her as the Doctor in the show, and just try it. And this James Bond argument, which is ridiculous as well, because it's like, right, so James Bond's been older, younger, he's been Scottish, English, he's Irish, I think, at one stage. He's served in the Cold War. Now he's too young to have served in that, or, in different wars. His boss has stayed the same age and become male and female while he's got younger. It's not exactly the strongest continuity. So, it's... If the Doctor Who is written so that you can do this, unlike James Bond, perhaps, arguably, depending on if it's meant to be a different agent with the same identity or whatever. But he's a Time Lord. It's an alien from another planet. Like, there is nothing that, unless they specifically had said in a previous episode, well, anyway, I do this thing called regenerate, which I can't do into a woman. But getting back to what I was saying, I mean, which obviously would be a ridiculous bit of dialogue. There's nothing to prevent this. So just give it a go. Just watch it.
Exactly.
Proof in the pudding's in the eating.
Patrick, what would you tell my younger self and other people that are like mindset that we are not against this, we just want to keep it simple?
Yeah, I would have to be honest with myself, because that far back, at that time, myself would probably have been negative towards the idea. But having gone through the whole hiatus that we did years back and missing the show as much as I did, my view on it 10 years ago would have been, exactly go, just ride it out, enjoy it. Even though the Doctor is the center character of this program, you have to love the program itself, and you have to stick with it, and I have to agree, you have to trust in what's going to come.
Mark, did you have that feeling way back when, back in the days when it felt like it should be one gender, or did you have a little inkling? And my take on the show, I said, you know what, we could put Mr. Potato Head in there, but you better have a great damn storyline why he's an inanimate plastic object.
Well, first of all, I was hoping for the same question, and I was going to tell you,
I'm altering the question.
Make sure you turn left and start a program called Christian Who 42, and you can make a lot of money. But
really,
that would be what I tell your younger self to do. But I didn't, so I'm sorry. But to answer your question, like I said, I had no problem with the Doctor ever becoming female. I don't have a problem with it. Even back then, even 20 years ago, well, 20 years ago, the show wasn't on. So really having a female Doctor wouldn't have done anything because we weren't on the air.
Well, they dabbled in it in Big Finish with Exile.
Yeah, Exile. Yeah. Annabelle Weir, the suicidal Doctor, and yes.
And nobody said anything. Nobody had an uproar or anything up
to be honest, I thought the fact that to change sex you had to kill yourself, I thought that was actually denigrating to women. I didn't actually like the fact that was a punishment.
Yeah.
That was you're saying it as a punishment, though. It's just.
Oh, it was a punishment.
I would assume that
it was a punishment for killing himself that he regenerated into a female. It was in the Big Finish audio.
I don't remember them saying a punishment. I just thought it was something that happens when a Time Lord kills himself, which was a bit weird.
And if you don't mind, just for people who may be joining us for the very first time and not familiar with Big Finish, it's an audio dramatization of continuing episodes of Doctor Who. They had a selection of kind of quote-unquote what-if sections, and one of the questions was, what if the Doctor turned female? And in the third Doctor's life, he becomes that. And there is one episode that's in existence right now, if you want to check it out, called Exile, where if you want to taste, it really is a bad taste of the first female Doctor because it totally is a different Doctor altogether as far as the characterization of what we know.
But David Tennant's in it, so, there's that.
Well, there you go. If you get a chance, listen up there. But Dr. Sweet, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to make sure our audience knew what we were talking about.
No, it's been a while since I listened to it, but I didn't remember the bit when they said it was a punishment.
Maybe the word punishment wasn't used, but it was definitely inferred. She was being punished for killing herself, and that's why they trained her. And that's why the Time Lords were after her, too.
Not exactly an encouraging
no, it's
selling
not encouraging at all. It was pretty... and I'm sorry, Nick Briggs, the executive producer of Big Finish. I'm sorry I didn't like that episode that much because of that. But not because it was a female Doctor, but because of the reason.
Well, also because it didn't really... It was a total takeoff of the character. I mean, it didn't impress me that this Doctor was part of the Doctor anthology because her character really changes out and kind of is a defeatist, so it doesn't really give an impression of what a third what Jodie will probably ascend to once she takes on the role. But getting out of that,
with that though, I mean that was because it's a what if. The whole point was you could do these incredibly different things, and it's okay because it's like it's not in continuity; it's kind of outside of it. So I kind of like that range for that. Yeah, no, I agree with that. But yeah,
gotcha. Patrick, why now? Why do this now? Why not do it later or have done it sooner? Why bring Jodie into the fray 13 or 14 lives after?
I think it was time. We're in a new phase of Doctor Who. Everybody, the classic and new Who. It was time. It was time for something new, something refreshing. And I think, despite some of the feedback from the fans, and we all know it's been pretty brutal, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It was just time. And I think the fans just really need to look at it like a breath of fresh air, and usher in a new phase of the program. I think everybody, as we've all mentioned, I think everybody needs to really just sit back, give her a chance, watch the episodes, give it 2 or 3 episodes, then make a decision. To just come out like, it has been is stunning to me. I never thought we would see this kind of feedback in Doctor Who, the negativity and awesome, and just plain outright brutality. And it's sad. It really is. But I think it was time.
And I agree with him. The point. It's almost like, guys, do you even watch the same program that I'm watching?
Right.
What are you watching? Because it's not what I'm watching there. But I kind of take it, and it does seem to be a central fine line where people who have grown up since the day that Unearthly Child premiered, going all the way up until now, you have different opinions, you have different takes. People have grown up to different lifestyles and accepted things. Sure. And my favorite line of all time comes from Captain Kirk: people can be frightened of change.
Yeah.
And this is one thing in a long line of a series, but to continue on another 50 years, we're going to have to feel uncomfortable. If this show is going to go beyond me, which I hope it does, we're going to have to see changes that we're going to have to not only adapt to what is right, but what is refreshing. This show will continue to change. And some things, not everything's been perfect in its 54-year anthology. There have been many, many bad things about it, but the core base is everybody everybody loves the Doctor. Everybody, for the majority of the show, loves the stories, and I think that's why they stick it out for all 54 years, or for the folks who are just coming in, they'll be sticking it out for another 54 years. But John, why do you think why now? There's a lot of opinions that maybe this should have waited. Maybe we should have went back to the old formula of the nice, sexy 35-year-old Doctor, give it a couple more regenerations, and then brought in a Jodie Whittaker. Do you think that would have made a difference?
No, it really, if anything else, I think it would have been a detriment, because in all honesty, yeah, it was great. Like Dave's Lieutenant and Matt Smith, they were fine and all, but honestly, it did kind of sire a type of fan that Doctor Who had never had before, which kind of frankly needs to just grow up and let their hormones level out. People who are like romanticizing the Doctor on that level are the same people who keep shipping Sherlock and Watson. It's
I can never unsee those pictures.
The Doctor doesn't see.
Stop drawing them then.
Exactly.
And I think one thing that drives me crazy nowadays are the fans that basically just travel with him because they want to top him off. And I'm like, no, that's not why he does it. He does it because he's thousands of years old, has seen everything, and he wants to experience it through new people's eyes. That's why he does it. It has nothing to do with any of these trivial matters. I mean, that's why I loved in this last season, the 12th Doctor actually pointed out, we have been above such trivial matters that actually, what was it, Missy even said something similar to it in The Magician's Apprentice when she said, we try and think of this above, such primitive. I'm paraphrasing, but basically saying stop thinking with your hormones. We needed this change. And honestly, it's going to come up with some really interesting dynamics in the future. I mean, I'm hoping whoever's companion is going to be, honestly, I hope they actually take the route of just having it be another female companion and pretty much take it like that, because that'll be something familiar for the audience to kind of latch on to. But at the same time, it'll actually shake up the dynamic between Doctor and companion to an extent. But once again, it's all in the lap of Chibnall. As far as a long time ago, why this didn't happen a long time ago, different world, different establishments. These are the same people who thought the show was embarrassing because it didn't look like Star Trek Next Generation. I mean, I'm sorry, but they weren't going to be progressive enough to think to do that. And it's a shame they didn't, because maybe if they did it earlier, we wouldn't even be discussing it right here and now, because it would be so commonplace. Yeah. So there's a part of me that wishes Tom Baker wasn't just joking, and there's a part of me that wishes Michael Gray had actually listened to Sidney Newman when he said, hey, it should be a woman. Remember when I appointed a woman back in '63 and it actually worked? I'm talking about Verity Lambert, everybody.
I know who you're talking about.
Yes, but
you're right. The listeners may not. Yeah. So Verity Lambert, the first producer of Doctor Who, the first female producer at the BBC.
Well, we can't just give it to Verity. We got to give it to Waris Hussein, who started the trend. Today it would be nothing. It would be like, oh, okay, we have a female showrunner. But back then, my goodness, they weren't even welcome into the big boys bar. So I mean, it was.
And then Waris was the first Asian, the first Indian director at the BBC, and he was the first director on Doctor Who.
Here's the funny thing no one else seems to think about. Doctor Who is quintessentially a British institution, but let's not forget, it was created by a Canadian.
Sidney Newman was Canadian.
Stop trying to take it from us.
I have a question.
It did slip up in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Not Americans either.
Yeah, so the Canadians created Doctor Who. It's not not British.
No. We just shipped a Canadian in to help us. That's all. Still English.
Don't use the word ship, because it means something completely different on the show.
Yeah, we gotta be careful with that word nowadays.
Careful.
Sorry, I'm using English properly. I apologize.
I understand that indubitably.
No, you're using English fine. You're using internet ease not that well.
Yeah, internet ease is a little bit iffy.
Dr. Squee, because you are in the UK, and I want you to say your take on this to folks who may not understand. I know the answer. I have my answer. But do you think Doctor Who's following an agenda?
No. This idea that when they were casting, that they had a Trump-style binder full of women they went to cast this. No, they will have seen loads of people for the role. They will have men, women, black, white, gay, straight, whatever. Like, there would have been so many people on the list of people they want to see. Probably Jodie jumped to the head of the queue because Chibnall's worked with her before.
Yeah.
And they work well together, and he probably had it in his head quite early on. So maybe it wasn't as long a list as it might be sometimes, but they would have considered lots of people and considered what they want to do with it and how this would work. And apparently everyone, male or female, read the same scene. It wasn't written especially for a woman. I think it's naive to think that. There probably is a side of it where they thought, cool, we could get some really interesting scripts out of this. There was someone who actually said to me about addressing the whole point of if they go to the past, they won't be able to go before 1980 because otherwise she'll get burned as a witch. And I was going, oh, wouldn't it be really interesting to have a Salem witch trial episode? It's like,
yeah,
I don't think my friend meant it like this.
That would be amazing.
But he pitched a really interesting show as far as I'm concerned. I think the Salem witch trials would be a really interesting thing for a female doctor to be kind of tied up with, and maybe even get tried as a witch, being the doctor is so kind of fantastical with his abilities or her abilities now. I think that would be great. I don't see it as being, again, that just seems a bit naive that that's the only criteria. Maybe that was a small concern, but I don't think a big one.
I remember a time in the Ronnie when the doctor forgot that he was the height of Colin Baker and he's walking around as Sylvester McCoy, and you could tell that he's like, why am I not taller than I was expected to be? And I'm always thinking, like, going on your thought process there is like, wouldn't it be an episode the doctor forgot he's a woman and he goes, oh damn, this is not, whoa, I didn't know they treated you this badly.
Speaking of not having an agenda, am I wrong in this? Matt Smith was originally not what they were shooting for. They were looking for an older doctor than David Tennant. And it was just that Matt Smith had it down.
Right.
And they
so they changed. That is exactly what it was. Matt Smith went into audition for Watson, I think, for Sherlock. They were auditioning at the same time, but they loved him. They didn't see he was right for Watson, but they said, come on, come over here for this audition, and they blew him out of the water. Because and to his credit, and for someone who actually confesses that he wasn't really an avid follower, he just seemed to get it. He just understood it. And they were gunning for an older doctor, as evidenced by his successor. They were gunning for an older doctor, but it's just that Matt Smith just blew their minds.
So maybe Jodie just nailed it. Obviously she did. She totally got the part.
I mean, Chibnall, he was kind of leaning in that direction. Yeah, I'm sure he was open-minded to anything, but I think he was leaning subtly in that direction. I mean, I'm sure he pulled his... I mean, he worked... honestly, I when he got the gig to head writer, I thought he was going to lean towards Olivia Colman, to be honest.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that to me. Why wasn't Olivia Colman?
I mean, she's another actress with fantastic range, even with comedy. I freaking love her in Hot Buzz. Thought she was brilliant in Hot Buzz. But at the same time, though, Jodie Whittaker, going back to praising her again. I just started watching Broadchurch. She is amazing in it.
She is.
Well, I think it's going back to people who they recognize with their own show. People like Sherlock, and people were saying that Cumberbatch should be the next Doctor Who, but I think he's already got his own show.
He's also an interesting doctor right now in his own right.
Exactly. So, and I don't think he's going back to the BBC for a while.
At SuperCon last week, we had a panel on Jodie Whittaker and the 13th Doctor, and I showed a clip from YouTube of Antigone that she did with Christopher Eccleston. And
I joked about, this is the only time you'll actually see a multi-Doctor episode is with Jodie and Chris on stage together.
But what was cool about it was her delivery, the way her lines were given. She was playing the Doctor in that scene. She totally can do it. She's got it.
Oh, no, she did it in Broadchurch.
If she plays it like she did in Antigone, I think we have a great Doctor.
But Attack the Block, and I know this is an unpopular opinion, was a horrible movie.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a horrible movie.
The only reason why I stuck it out was because of Jodie. I wanted to see what was going on with her. I could care less about the rest of the movie. I wanted to go see what her character was doing. That was the only reason why I stuck it out. I was just like, what the hell? Okay,
Attack the Block.
Attack the Block.
It was Finn from Star Wars, man. He was.
I know.
It was a great movie. It was great. If you like those kind of movies,
you're on your own on that one.
Yeah, you have to like those kind of movies. You have to like real stupid, violent, good for. I like trauma films. I like anything trauma puts out.
but I think
I liked Attack the Block. I'm sorry.
I don't even think I have to ask a question. I think we all unanimously agree that Jodie has the skills to sit in the doctor chair. Yeah. She's got what it takes to be in that role. There's not even a doubt or question in their mind. So one of the questions that I saw out there, Patrick, was, do you think that little boys have lost their role model?
I think I don't think that it is the older generation of Who that is in that category, or new Who generation. Some of them, not all of them. And I'm just going to put this out there, and I've discussed this actually with my wife, and she loves the idea of Jodie. Not that it's a woman, but again, that it's something new and different. It almost likens to I can visualize some folk in their bedroom just, like as some of the comedy that's come out of it, crying and calling a helpline.
That was great.
Yeah.
I saw that YouTube video.
Yeah. And I don't, maybe just because, I'm 50 years old, I've been in Doctor Who for so long, but I just don't understand that. I understand, the Doctor is a hero no matter what the Doctor looks like, what color, what gender. So in that sense, yeah, I think some of them are taking it so personally that they've lost their hero. You haven't lost your hero. Your hero is still there. They just, he or she looks different.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. This is Doctor Who. She is Doctor Who. The Doctor, excuse me. I know that some people don't like it being called.
Well, according to Missy, she is Doctor Who.
Yes, true.
It's true.
And Moffat covered this in Comic-Con. Like, there were early episodes where they out and out referred to him as Doctor Who, so it's always been there.
And that was like the first 3 Doctors. The closing credits were Doctor Who. So I'm like, okay. Right. Why that's even an argument really drives me insane. It's almost like, was it Whovians and Dweebs or Dweeks or whatever they were calling themselves? Stop that nonsense. Right?
I like Whovian better. It sounds more dignified.
Yeah, there you go. Well, gentlemen, we're coming to the end. This has been a lively and wonderful discussion, and I'm hoping a lot of people get a take on this. But we got one final question. I'm going to address it to all you gentlemen, and I'm going to start with our showrunner himself. Mark, what do you think happens now? What do you think is the future of Doctor Who? What do you think is going to take place and aspire now?
I think she gets a hunk of a companion for the ladies. And I don't know. I just see more good storytelling. I like Chris Chibnall. I like Jodie Whittaker. I think that they will bring some greatness to this show. And we've had greatness all these years, but I think the greatness will continue. Other than that, I'm just going to be sitting down and when the season's on, ripping it apart on this show like we do to everybody. Because we've taken Matt Smith and we've taken Capaldi and we've dissected their roles in episodes, and we're going to keep doing it. But I think that we are going to continue the greatness of Doctor Who, and it will go on. This is not R.I.P. This is not the end of Doctor Who. This is a new beginning. The moment has been prepared for. That's all I can say.
Gotcha. Dr. Squee, what do you think is the future of Doctor Who at this moment?
I think that's really exciting is that we never know what the future is. I think what's really great is, and if I might just sort of roll in about the kind of timing of it as well, because to me, when they did the first series of Doctor Who, when it came back, they did a sort of Doctor Who by numbers. Each episode showed you a different aspect of the Doctor. So a past episode, an episode in the future, an episode where he regenerates at the end of the series. And I think they've done that sort of with the Doctors. So like the first one was a kind of, they've gone a bit northern, they got a bit different in that way. There was the hero Doctor, there was the kind of younger Doctor, there was an older Doctor, and now we get a female Doctor, something new in the toy box, which is very exciting. I think that's the whole thing. It's like, it's always changing, it's always evolving, and I just hope we get some new great stories. I think maybe, whereas they've done a very good job of varying up the Doctor, some of the stories, a few of the times there's been stories which you compare to other ones in the recent run. From series to series, there are kind of some similarities, so I think this could really send it in a completely different direction, and I'm just excited that we don't know what's coming up next.
John, what do you think is the future of Doctor Who?
I definitely echo that sentiment of there's a nice sense of anticipation of the unknown, because for a lot of people, this drastic change is going to be venturing into the unknown. I kind of like that. My only problem right now is my worry about Chibnall as a writer. Honestly, I like that that's my problem and not this. So I look forward to it with, like I've looked forward to every single season of Doctor Who. So I think my only sadness right now is just that we had to wait all the way till fall of next year to really see what she does in the role. That's my sadness.
Hopefully they might have a little twinge in the Christmas story, just a little. Like a taste.
Maybe something, but let's face it, they probably haven't even started filming yet. So,
Patrick, what do you think is the future of Doctor Who?
I think it's a bright, shining future, and it's exciting. And we've got to see what Chris is going to pump out as far as his scripts. He wrote for Jodie before, so hopefully that's giving him a lot more insight into how he perceives the character to go. But it's just an exciting time, and it just needs to be embraced. And even though we're going to have this long lag time between the Christmas special and when we see her actually in action, but I'm just looking forward to it so much. It's just really exciting.
Can I just add one more thing?
Yeah.
I read today that over the weekend on BBC Radio, Christopher Eccleston was on, I don't remember what show it was, but they asked him what he thought about the female Doctor. And he said, Well, she's from the north, so what could go wrong?
Nice.
So
stay for one season.
Dr. Squee, what's coming up for you up the pipeline?
Well, yeah, we did this last show we've just had was our highlights from London Film and Comic Con. So there's lots of great interviews on there, including Sacha Dhawan, who played Boris Hussein in Adventure in Space and Time. So that's a nice little link. And then the next show we've just got coming up is with Will Wilkins from Netheads podcast and Mark Bernardin from Fat Man on Batman. So they're both from the Smodcast network. So there's a bit of a link there, and we talk about Doctor Who and the female Doctor a little bit in that as well.
So you definitely got to listen to Dr. Squee on
GallifreyStandsPodcast.com.
Gotcha. Mr. John Reed Adams, what do you have coming up the pipeline that you would like to let people know?
Well, in the spirit of this one, I will plug my latest episode of Close Examinations, where I get deeper into this particular subject about Jodie Whittaker. But what I got coming up, I have 2 episodes of my B-movie analyzation series. Well, I'd say analysis, more comedy, but it's the Cinema Schlock Society, where we actually delved into Clan of the Cape Bear with Daryl Hannah and Elektra with Jennifer Garner in anticipation of The Defenders. We got those episodes coming up. And part of my ranking series, Less to More, I'm going to actually rank worst to best of all the episodes of Sherlock.
Oh, wow.
They're all on YouTube. If you want to see it, just subscribe to Narcotic Casserole on YouTube.
You got it, man. You're going to get yourself subscribed today.
I hope so.
Oh, yeah.
Now, here's the thing, Patrick, I was going to do a final word to say, but I'm going to, because it's part of our convention discussion, I'm going to hold you over until the end, if you don't mind. Plus, I'm going to give my take to the Whovians, but we're going to do this after our commercial break.
And after the women get to do their share, he said, she said about Jodie Whittaker. So definitely stick around here on Mark Who 42.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Mark Who 42 after this.
And I'd like to say right now, Mark Who 42 is proud to have 9.9 Comics as a sponsor for our show. 9.9 Comics, if you're out in Brevard County, this is one of the places to go and visit. They've just started recently, and they're located off of 1284 Sarno Road in the Melbourne area. They're starting out, but I met Matt and the team, and they are just really, really, as far as customer service is concerned, phenomenal. It's a really great store. They were telling me about a point system, Mark, and forgive me, I'm not familiar with it, but that's where the 9.9 comes from. When you go to a comic book store, some comics are just laying out there loose and for everybody to read and such like that. And every time somebody picks it up, it kind of depreciates over time. Not in this store. Every comic is protected. In fact, you can't even read the comics. They're all protected for your pleasure. So if you want to keep these comics for longevity and possibly later on try to sell them to make money off of them, they have every comic sealed up and protected. It's just phenomenal. Not only that, but one of the things I love about this comic shop is they sponsor the Candlelighters of Brevard. Now, these folks are a nonprofit organization that take care of children in the Brevard area who are suffering from cancer. So if you want more information on them, go to www.candlelightersofbrevard.org. If you want more information about the charity that they sponsor, and definitely go on their Facebook site at 9.9 Comics. Can't miss it. Matt and the team are wonderful. Go visit them out there and tell them that Mark Who 42 sent you.
The voice of Christian Basel, take 1.
Hi, I'm Christian Basel, and I would like to provide my voice for all your voiceover needs, such as...
Okay, like an announcer.
Like a what?
Like an announcer.
For all your voiceover needs, such as animation, radio, announcements, introductions...
Now an old man.
I can even record voicemail for all the Meshuggahs that call you.
A pirate.
Arr, and it won't cost you a lot of treasure for me services. Arr.
Creepy movie voice.
Just call 407-761-2679. 407-761-2679. Or email voiceofchristianbasel@yahoo.com. Well, how was that?
That's a wrap.
Hi, I'm Nicola Bryant. I played Purple Gillian Brown in Doctor Who, and you're listening to Mark Who 42.
Welcome back to Mark Who 42. I am your host, Iggy Mathews, and I will be doing the female segment of this conversation. So, with me today, I have Nietzsche Mulchin. How's it going, darling?
Hey, everything's going really well. How are you, Iggy?
I'm doing okay. I'm kind of a little nervous to see how this is going to turn out. We got very intelligent women here. I have Kelly Harkins with me as well. How are you doing?
Hi, good. Sunday morning, bright and cheerful.
So, and then I also have Molly Marcus and Patricia Fryer. How are you guys?
We're doing great. I'm doing great. I can't speak for Patricia. I'm doing pretty good too.
Obviously, today's topic is going to be about Victoria's Secret and what they're actually. No, I'm kidding. We're going to be doing Jodie, 13th Doctor. You found out about that, right? Or did you just now find out?
Shock.
Right?
Shock. Oh, no, we all knew about it.
Kidding.
All right. So I'm going to do this roundtable discussion style. We each have 1 minute to answer the questions. Okay, I'm only going to be moderating. So ladies, do your best and do your worst. So I'm going to start out with Nisha. What was your initial reaction to the grand reveal of the new face of Doctor Who?
I am thrilled. I was actually had some idea that Jodie was on the final list, and I had just been talking about it the night before with the kids, explaining why I thought that she would really be a great option, because of course I loved her in Broadchurch, and so I was like, oh my God, yes, I love it. But then again, I'm kind of like that with almost every doctor.
Fair enough. You don't fall for the cycle that goes with every doctor.
I do not.
Good.
No.
That's very good. So you knew her from
Broadchurch, big time. A couple things like Antigone, where she was with Chris Eccleston, and she had done some work on TV. I had watched a few episodes of something she'd been on in television, and Tess of D'Urberville. So I kind of knew her a little bit.
All right, excellent. Kellen.
Yeah, I was kind of mixed. I mean, not bad mixed, but I think I've dealt with enough actors that I knew. Was like, I figured, oh, okay, they finally did it. Took the plunge. But it all came down to, well, if they don't write well for her, it's going to tank and she's going to get blamed. And of course, then it'll be, oh, it's because it was a female doctor. Yeah. So in that sense, I was like, yay, well, let's see. So a little caution, but not because of her being chosen, but because there's so much more to any show than just the actor.
Absolutely. And so basically, you're just like, heck yes, bring it on. I want to see what this is going to have. You have good expectations for this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've seen her in Broadchurch, and certainly she's capable of the role. No question on that. It's just whether it'll be up to her.
Excellent. Molly.
Well, obviously the talent aside, I was super excited. I got chills. But more importantly, this is laying the foundation for a non-binary Doctor Who. I've always looked at Doctor Who as a being, not necessarily male or female. And we saw a lot of this in, like when the 10th Doctor regenerated, because he's like, ooh, I got legs. Oh, okay, I got arms, I got fingers. Ooh, lots of fingers, ears. Okay, I got a chin. Oh, blimey, I'm a girl. Oh, wait, no, I'm not a girl. I'm still not a ginger. So yeah. So it's kind of like, for me, it's really exciting to see where this will go. Like Kellen said, I really hope they write well for her, because I don't want this to tank. I think we all love the Doctor for being the Doctor, not necessarily a male or a female Doctor.
Okay, perfect. So you weren't really like, oh my God, it's female. You were just like, cool.
Well, I was kind of, oh my God, it's female, because I'm like, hey, I'm feminist, so I'm like, hey, this is really cool. But, at the same time, I don't think she should be looked at just for her gender.
All right, and Trish, what are your thoughts?
I was shocked that they finally went with a woman, but then I was excited. I was excited to see what they're going to do with this, because in the past I hadn't really been on board with a female doctor, but ever since they had, Missy, I was like, she's actually really interesting and really good. I wonder what a female doctor would be like. But I really didn't think they would do it this soon. I know there had been hints, but I was surprised that they did it. But I'm super excited to see what they're going to do.
So what are your thoughts on Jodie herself?
I had seen her on Broadchurch as well, and I thought she was wonderful on that. I haven't seen her in anything else, but I didn't even realize she was a real possibility. I'd heard, mentioned a few other female names, but hers had never come up. So I was actually surprised. That's why I was so shocked. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the lady from Broadchurch. I didn't even realize she was on the running. So
all right, cool. So I'll insert, since technically I'm the fifth female here. What my opinion on this, I was kind of butthurt. I was a little butthurt because I didn't see anything. Like, I guess I wasn't following the news that closely, but when this came up, it was a complete shocker. I had no idea. I'm like, what? How did I not hear about this? I work for Who 42. I should have had some sort of hint or something. Like, I should have known that this was happening. I don't know. The best way I can describe it is your baby boy just came home with a female, and you have never heard about her. You don't know who she is. Is she nice? Is she good? Is she come from a good place? Like, I don't know you. And it's not that, I don't, that I dislike you. I'm just wasn't prepared to open myself up to such a change. And I'm going, okay, well, this is Doctor Who. This is what they go for. Every time you're like, no, I hate this doctor. Maybe. Okay, I love her. No, please don't go. So I'm expecting it's going to go along the same pattern. I honestly do not know Jodie from anything. That was the first time of me hearing of this character, but bring it on. Let's see what you do. I'm going to give him an open chance. The next question I have here is, why do you think the BBC made the decision to switch both the Master and the Doctor? Just gender switch them both. Why do you think they did that? Nisha?
I think because in general, if you look at programming across BBC, from what we can see, because we can only see BBC America, right? It looks like they're really trying to go towards a more diverse and inclusive type of programming. And they're doing that across the spectrum because they're, granted, the 70s, they weren't as diverse, but I'd say in the last 7 years or so, they've been really bringing in characters that represent across the spectrum of cultures because it's such an extremely cross-generational and cross-cultural society there. And I see them willingly, bringing that inclusiveness into the game. And I know that was one of the main reasons. I mean, it was in their statement, right, when they brought Jodie on. But it's of course to shake up Doctor Who, man. I mean, it was time for something different. Whether it was an alien, well, he's alien, hello, but you know what I mean. I got you. Or whether he can't, the Doctor is now in a female humanoid body. It was just time for shaking things up a little bit.
Perfect. All right, Kelly, what do you think? Why did they decide to change both the Master and the Doctor back to back, essentially?
Well, I definitely agree with Nisha that a lot of it was kind of just testing the waters. And they very much have that mandate of not like catering, our predominant is this, so we'll go with that because they'll like it, rather than, this is the better option and like try to reflect what the world really is like. And I think that was very smart of them. And I wish our TV would do that more. And I think it is further kind of reminding us as the fan base that, the Doctor isn't human. And, it's very easy, of course, to make that assumption because, of course, it's a human actor. But it's like, hey, this is not just the standard, 2 arms, 2 legs. There's some other things. And, they've been kind of setting it up for a while, kind of have talked about a couple of those things dropping in with, what do I have? And then, of course, Missy, who is awesome. And it just kind of makes sense to kind of go into that. And with the new showrunner, it's a perfect time to say, let's change this up. Let's, hit the ground running, as it were.
All right. Perfect. Patricia?
I think that they waited because they were unsure of what the fan reaction was going to be. And because I know they had posed the question before on switching genders of the Doctor, and people freaked out. Some people thought it was cool, but a lot of people were like, no, the Doctor should always be male. And and of course, we got a lot of that when the announcement finally came through, when they decided they were actually going to do it. And it's pretty nuts, the stuff you see online, what people are saying. Some stuff is extremely crazy.
Yeah, that's why we're here, because this is the first time that we had such a huge tipping over. Yeah, we had some backlash coming with, and not so much with the 10th Doctor. I mean, I do remember a little bit of that, but we had a lot going on with each Doctor, and this is by far the most controversy that we've had.
And, there's nothing wrong with not being sure about the actor playing the Doctor, but it's the fact that a lot of people are not willing to even give her the chance is what's bothering me the most.
All right. And Miss Molly, why did BBC do this? Why did they do this?
Well, and I'm going to go out on a limb here. I was not a fan of Missy. I know.
You take that back. No.
I know. No, I'm not going to take that back. And here's why. So I'm a long-time Whovian. I came in at Doctor 3 into Doctor 4. And the Doctor always had this nemesis. So to me, it didn't matter whether it was Missy or the Master or the Mistress. Even the Doctor himself, like even Capaldi, doesn't even flinch when Missy's presented as a woman, because when he becomes aware of who she is in this particular life form, the Doctor sees Missy for the innate, not very nice Time Lord, his former best friend. So, it was interesting that they went that direction. Perhaps it was, trying to be more diverse, but I think it's more than that. I think they were testing to see what the fan base's reaction was going to be. And because it wasn't the Doctor per se, I'm not sure that they really garnered the reaction they were looking for. And so I think that's why we're seeing such negative feedback about Jodie, because they're like, well, wait, hey, it was okay when the Master was a female, but I'm not sure about this Doctor being female. So, I'm really hoping that it stays strong, and then the Doctor as a being stays strong. I'm interested to see who the companion's going to be.
The next question that I have for you ladies is, if River's Song was able to witness the Doctor's regeneration, how do you think the sudden change would affect the relationship?
Well, didn't she say something in an interview like, oh, well, that would be interesting or something? I can't remember exactly what she said, but I would love to see that. I mean, Bill was really refreshing, so, we'll see.
Well, she references her 2 wives, so don't forget that.
Right. Right, exactly. I think it will be amazing. It'll be great TV.
Okay, so Kelly, I thought I heard you pipe in. What do you think? How would that dynamic go?
That was Nisha, but
Nisha.
My reaction is I don't think it would phase River at all, but I don't see how they could bring her in, at least officially, because of course she basically knows that this was the last Doctor that she knew. So in that sense, it's too bad. I'd love to have seen that reaction. She would have really sold it. I think I'm a little nervous on some of that when we're talking about companions, because I personally, I don't know whether you're going to go into this, but I got really tired of the shipping Doctor. So I am glad to see what they're going to do, and I don't think they'll cross that line right off. I mean, I think they'll make it pretty clear it's not an issue, but I don't think they'll cross that line. But yeah, I think River would be like, whatever. I don't think she'd mind at all.
Trish,
I have heard rumors going around, and I've seen it online, that the actor Chris Marshall is a possibility for the companion, and he was actually, up for the role of the Doctor. I think that would be a brilliant casting choice because I like that actor. He's funny. I first saw him in Love Actually, and he played Colin, who, the guy that goes to America to hook up with all the chicks. But I think, I think he would, and he's funny. He's got comedic timing. I think he would be a fun companion. My husband was not a fan of all the companions wanting to have Doctor babies. And so he's happy that maybe, or he's hoping that maybe, that won't happen with this. But who knows? I don't know. I kind of hope that they don't. I hope they get just focus on the adventure and the storytelling, and let's, get away from all the romance.
Right. All right. So I'm going to ask a little something more controversial, though, just because we're kind of flirting with that topic and we haven't actually addressed it yet. We're talking, female companions and perhaps love interest. And the one that I want to know is, being that the Doctor is female now, will she have a female companion, or will that also change? Because the Doctor technically is the same person. So theoretically, the Doctor should gravitate towards a female. So was Bill perhaps a test run to a more open-minded future? What do you guys think? Who wants to tackle it first?
Most of you guys know my take on the Doctor is as a being. It's a being. There's not any subject to any particular caste, race, creed, or any other thing. So for me, I didn't ever see the companions as any particular gender choice, even though they tended to be female, because, that's what the director's, casting choice was. But I don't feel that it has to be 100% canon, that there has to be an opposite gender per se, as we see with Bill and as we see with Nardole. Hey, Nardole's an android. Come on. So, whilst he's in a male body, I think that we need to understand that we're stepping away from role, class, and cultural expectations that we ourselves and, the directorship and the showrunners have implied into the show, because that's part of who they were. That's part of the time and the age that they were in, and part of their generation. So as we move forward, I would hope that we transcend gender expectations, if that makes sense to you.
Absolutely. So the reason I say open-minded future is because a big deal is always made out of the little things, and we miss the big picture. And I feel like Doctor Who is starting to make the sidestep over into, hey, maybe let it go and focus on the characters, that this is very normal. So, Kelly, what do you think? I mean, assuming that he's the same person, he's always gravitating towards a female. I mean, there was that huge love affair with Rose.
And then, of course, Martha was all,
yeah.
But
Queen Elizabeth, I think, too.
I would say I don't have a problem either way. I think they probably will play it safe and keep the dynamic male and female, because, that's something they're like, okay, we already shook y'all up, now, but they'll also make it clear it's not that. And we have had male companions. It's just, it hasn't necessarily been the male companion.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't think we'll see that. And I think Chris Marshall would be a great choice, because especially if you come at it with that lightness, it kind of leaches away some of the, oh my God, will they, won't they, kind of approach. And I think that would be good. What I really hope is that then they focus on the adventure, but also the Doctor. And one of the reasons I like the new series better than the old, I have to admit that. I appreciate classic Who, but I like New Who more because the story is much more of a factor. And if they focus on the arc, I think it'll work no matter what. Then you can kind of play with that as they're just kind of partners in crime, as it were, as opposed. And there's lots of evidences of those kind of situations working. So that's what I'm hoping for. But I would be okay with a female companion. I wouldn't have any problem with it. Again, if you approach it that same way. But I think they'll stick with the male-female dynamic.
All right, and Trish, what do you think?
I think that they'll cast a male companion basically to appease all the males out there that are mad that the Doctor's a female, because if they put a female in there too, all hell will break loose. I mean, yeah, it'll be like, oh my God, as if there's not enough estrogen on the show now. You're going to completely wipe out all of the testosterone. You know, I can just see it happening online, and it would be ugly, and they want to keep viewers. And, you know, I think that was actually one of the reasons why they continued with having the younger or cuter doctors with the pretty female companions that are in love with them, because they're getting all those teenager fans, girls that are just like in love with the Doctor. And, oh, if he even slows a slightest bit of interest in the companion, then I have a chance too, you know, and...
Oh, hey. Why have you been in my living room? Get out.
Yes. Hey, Iggy, I have a question for the crew, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes, bring it.
You guys don't mind? I've been looking, because of what we do, you know, I've been paneling basically the responses, and I did interviews at Comic-Con over the last few weeks. And to my interest, I guess, a lot of the negative feedback that I had gotten was actually from the younger generation females. Mm-hmm. Whilst there were quite a few older gentlemen per se, or that's pretty much across generations. Can you guys give me your concept as to why you think the younger female fans would have more consternation at bringing in a female and be much more, hey, I'm just going to give her one or two shows, and if it doesn't work for me, it's it, I'm over, I'm done with Who. And I've heard that a number of times. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I know that a lot of the younger female fans lost it when Capaldi was even announced, because he wasn't a young, cute Doctor. And they were really hoping that they were going to get back the young, cuter Doctor. And they want it to go back to the way it was when it was Matt Smith and David Tennant. And now they're even more mad that it's Jodie Whittaker. You know, there's females out there that, you know, love and appreciate other females. And so they're not going to have a problem with it. But the ones that were hoping for a young, cute male Doctor that they can obsess over, they're still ticked off. They're not getting it anymore. So I think that's where it's going.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. This is a matter of not talent, not story. It absolutely has to do with superficial and, you know, just breaking the mold. Me personally, that the reason that I don't have any serious controversy against a female Doctor is because I feel, in my opinion, so I'm not speaking for anybody else, but in my opinion, I feel that if I were to have a problem with just her gender and have such a big whole hullabaloo about that, I feel like I would have to evaluate myself and look in the mirror and be like, what is wrong? Is this, when did I turn this shallow that I can ignore? Like, I'm not going to be attacking my own gender, and I don't even know why gender even has anything to play with this. If you're an actor, you're an actor. If you can act, you can act. I mean, if you know the story, then you know the story. So the only reason that I will be upset with this person is if you absolutely butchered it and all of a sudden I don't recognize what I'm watching. If I can see the quirkiness and the awkwardness and go, yeah, there's the Doctor right there. You just have a different face like you always have. I'm going to be happy. But I think that it has to do with the fact that it's not the attractive point that we're looking for. And then the guys are over here going like, well, this was supposed to be sci-fi adventure. And I don't think that this is going to work out. You know, it's the same thing as having like a female commander in Star Trek. You know, we've had controversies about that too. We can fly ships, we can act, we can do it all, and we can also be very attractive. Thank you very much. Okay, just makeup. Wait, you're not ready, Kelly.
Yeah, I could see where it comes in. I mean, Who blew up so big, I think, because of that element. And then it was suddenly appealing to the adventure. It was appealing to the shippers. You only have to look at some of the shows that are popular, that are blowing up, that are like, oh, there's that shipping element. And I think it's how you look at the show. And yes, the audience will probably shrink a bit. It obviously shrank with Capaldi, and I totally agree with you on that. And everybody went, oh, I can't ship anymore. It's an old guy. But I do think that there is that we certainly can go have adventures and go, you know, all those great things. But then it's just changing the focus of the show, and you need to be able to look at the show as something else. So I think that's where some of those fans that are resistant to it is because they're looking at the show in one context only. And yes, it probably probably made it more successful. And I think BBC has to understand that they don't have to be that show, because that's not really the nature of Doctor Who when it really comes down to it. That's my take.
All right, Molly?
I think that we need to kind of start bucking the sexist stereotypes that are out there. And so whether or not it's a female companion, whether or not it's a male companion, to somewhat, I agree, they don't want to lose their fan base. That is certain. There was actually a letter written by the creator Sidney Newman, like in the mid-'80s, and he had been quoted as saying, he wanted to avoid having like a flashy Hollywood Wonder Woman because, they wanted a hero or a heroine that has no flaws, and the Doctor has lots of flaws. And I think that there's been many episodes where they've proven that men and aliens and everyone in between can be whatever they want. And so if they can get beyond the gender, if they can still pan to their core base and not lose their fan baneship, then they're going to do things like that. So, whereas, Bill was refreshing, I think she was a shock to the system too. I mean, let's be real. How many of the male viewers liked Bill? How many of them were threatened by Bill? So it's kind of an interesting quandary. Where does Who go in the next 20 years? I mean, this show's been around, 50 years? Where's it going to go in the next 20 years? Is it going to become a watered down version of itself, or are they going to dive deep into the stories, which is what we all want, because the stories are what are so cool. That's my thought on that.
Excellent. And Nisha, you didn't express your own thoughts on that.
Oh, on my own question? Well, I'm going to say that the Doctor is a character who I, at age 13, identified with very strongly in terms of the fact that I have said before the possibilities that the Doctor represented for any being, that there was always the sense of I can become or be or exist or imagine or dream. And I do feel that this particular, there's a multiple generations of New Whovians, being in mind that we have a 12-year span. I have 2 of those generations in my house. So I'm leading up to the fact that I believe it has to do with the paradigm that those generations exist within. The youngest ones, the millennials still have a concept of, I identify with the character because that helps me to identify myself within that paradigm, right? And my own dreaming and my own willful imagination. And shipping is just part of that. That's fan fiction. It's what it is, and it's always going to exist. Then you have a much younger teen generation, and for them, it's like any other character. They just, that character belongs to them. And that belongingness and that sense of concrete identification, it's very difficult to let go of that character, because you're losing a concrete part of yourself. So I don't know if that makes sense to everyone, but it has a lot to do with the age span, and it has a lot to do with the age that character was introduced to you. And I feel that I got the different answers based on who the Doctor was in terms of their concretization as a person at the age that they were just, completely in love with the Doctor. For me, I'm in love with the Doctor. I will always be in love with the Doctor. Doesn't matter who you put in front of me. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a concrete part of my thought process and my paradigm. And so, hey, I'm a geek nerd. I can't shut that part off. So that's what I was seeing as I was asking the question. Does that kind of...
Yes, that answers it beautifully.
And as for companions, my darlings, bring any companion my way. It doesn't matter to me as long as it's the story arc and as long as you give me back the adventure, because the adventure is everything. That's my imagination. That's my dream. That's my hope. So give me the adventure so that I think
this Doctor would be very well paired with Jack Harkness. I would love to see that at some point.
I was so hoping you would say that. I'm like, correct.
It would be beautiful. It's just, especially since he also doesn't really care the whole. I mean, if anything, I think he would compliment her and be like, nice. I like what you did with the place, But
that sounds exactly like a Barrowman line, too.
I have one last question, and it's regarding a comment that Peter Davison had said, saying that little boys have lost a role model with this gender change. And that, I will reserve my opinion, but I'm going to start with Molly. What do you have to say regarding that little comment?
Oh, boy. Well, that's a tough one, right? Because do little boys always have to look up to men? Can little boys look up to women? I'm a single mom. My kid looks up to me. So, I've been a great role model for my little son, who's now actually 21 and who also likes Doctor Who. So, yes. But I think that, it can be a controversial question because for mainstream folk, right, they're going to be like, oh, well, my little boy has to like Captain Jack, or my little boy has to like Captain Picard, or my little boy has to like, one of these other strong role models, Rambo, whatever, right? And I think that, again, I'm a gender fluid being myself. So for little boys, I think if they can look at Jodie's character, look at the Who, look at the new Who, still love it, and run around with their own sonic screwdrivers and having a good time, then that's great. There are going to be people, though, who are like, yeah, well, my kids just lost a role model. And I think that's narrow-minded thinking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Nisha.
We were at SuperCon recently, and I saw, I would say, at least 2 or 3 young male cosplayers with their families, and they were actually cosplaying traditional female role characters. And I wanted to just cry because I thought I could do nothing but go up to the parents and applaud them.
That's amazing.
Yes, thank you. I was like genderless, because technically we have to learn how to look beyond labels. I mean, that's the entirety of my premise, is that if we just learn to exist without labels, and guess who's the person who teaches it that? The doctor teaches that, and Jack, for instance. Jack is the living, breathing, existing example of what it is to be labelless. Of course, he was a tortured being to be able to get to that place in his existence. And so for me, as far as I'm concerned, there is no losing a role model, because a role model is not defined by any gender. Role model is defined by character, personality, and modeling, correct? So hey,
absolutely.
Interestingly enough, never have expected Peter Davison to say it in the way he did. And I don't think he meant it badly. Having spoken with him, I just don't think he meant it badly. I just think it's, again, paradigm. It's the world you exist in. It's the language you exist in. Hopefully it's going to change, right? That's what we're hoping for.
I think that with the role model thing, that if people have a problem with a boy having a female role model, then that's the parents' problem, because most kids couldn't care less if the doctor is male or female. They just want good storytelling. But they're going to go by what their parents' reaction is a lot of the time. So, parents are going to miss a real teaching moment if they start freaking out that, oh my God, the doctor's a female. What is our son going to do? So I think
that's a bit ridiculous. Kelly.
I agree with a lot of what we've all been saying. I think we're not, as a society as a whole, it'd be great if we were there. And I think that's, of course, what we're evolving to. I am not sure our society is there yet. We're still like, well, you need to learn to be a man. And to learn to be a man, you need to look at men, which is still so much of our prevalent world. I don't believe that's true, but I think that's still enough of what the world looks at things as is where we go. Plus, there's kind of that innate need. It's like, well, that person's like me, so I need to learn to be like that. And it's going to take effort for us to transcend that. And like I said, not sure we're there yet, but hopefully this is a good step in the right direction.
And so with that, I will end with my opinion on that. And I don't think that a role model has been lost at all. You have gained another one. Personally, if you talk to my husband, if you talk to my boys, they will, all 3 of you, tell you that they look up to me very much. And that terrifies me. Absolutely. Because I can promise you right now, I have no idea what I'm doing. None. Zip. And to see a female that is maternal, the reason that you grew up to be the man that you are is because of your mother, is because she taught you. She's the one that pulled you aside and said, say please and thank you, act this way, be that way. She grew you up to be a good person, not necessarily a man, because mom's the one that's going to love you whether you decide to gender switch or like this or that or this or whatever. So I think we're focusing on the wrong thing and not giving the person a chance. She is absolutely going to be a phenomenal role model, and I'm excited. And this doesn't make any doctor any less or any other doctor any better. Again, are the same being, and let's not forget that. But thank you, ladies, so much for joining me on this She Said segment, and this has been pretty fun. Ladies, we're gonna start with Kelly. Do you have any plugins that you'd like to put in?
Yes, coming up right down around the corner, way too close in my mind, is Dragon Con. And I'm the director of the American Science Fiction Fantasy Media Track there. So although I don't get to cover Doctor Who, we do cover lots of awesome shows, and we have some awesome fan panels where we talk much like this and have a great time. If you've ever been to Dragon Con, it's a little overwhelming, but it's definitely an experience.
All right, and Molly, do you have any plugins you want to put in?
I don't, but I'm a huge fan of all these ladies, so definitely Dragon Con and any other con, and represent.
And Miss Nisha?
I'm super excited for Dragon Con, Kellen. Yay! So I am the CEO and founder of Diversely Geek. We're a global social media nonprofit that promotes acceptance and diversity through the medium of fandom. So I'm a family practice nurse practitioner with a specialty in mental health. So I developed the program as a way for hopefully help helping people to be able to identify with positive role models and self-identify characterizations in a way that helps them to accept themselves first, love themselves first, and then be accepting and loving beings in the human race. I believe that the Geek Nation is on the rise and holds in its hands the ability to gain full inclusiveness. So that's my shameless plug for Diversely Geek.
And that's beautiful. I love it. I love what you do. Absolutely. And Trish, any plugin?
I don't have very many plugins. I kind of wish I was on the East Coast to go to Dragon Con. I have heard wonderful things about it, seen great things about it. You guys get amazing guests. So I'm totally jealous because over here on the West Coast, we have to travel far and wide to even get anybody good. And so I'm totally jealous. And I run the extension of Weekend TARDIS. Over here, I run Weekend TARDIS Reno and basically do the same thing that Mark does with his Weekend TARDIS group over there. So that's really all of our plugging.
Excellent. So thank you, all the listeners out there, for joining me with Miss Nisha Mulchin, Kelly Harkin, Molly Marcus, and Patricia Freyer. You good ladies are amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. And you are listening to Mark Who 42, and we'll be right back after these commercial breaks.
This portion of Mark Who 42 has been brought to you by Harley Quinn Cosplay and Crafts. You can go to our site right now, markwho42.net, and click on her icon. Make sure to use promo code markwho42 for free shipping of any of her cosplay images and merchandise. And you will see Amelia Poole, yeah, that's her real name, Amelia Poole, who runs the site. She's going to be at the Space Coast Comic-Con and a lot more other conventions coming up on the Space Coast. She usually hangs around there in Central Florida. Gorgeous woman. Absolutely gorgeous. You got to see her Harley Quinn cosplay. You got to see her Dana from Ghostbusters. I mean, just a beautiful woman on that. And she actually does some crafts, including, I guess, what they call the Cobb hat, the Firefly hat that Jane Cobb uses. Right. She's got merchandise up there. Check it out. Tell her once you see her anywhere, Mark42 sent you.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Mark Who 42 after this.
Mark Who 42 is proud to have Famous Faces and Funnies. This is a huge, mega comic book store. I mean, they just have literally tons and tons of comic books, novelties, everything. They're located off of 3020 New Haven Avenue in West Melbourne. And if you want to give them a call and just let them know Mark Who 42 sent you, it's 321-259-3575. But this thing is just a huge, I mean, you've seen comic book stores and nothing against them, but you've seen them, these tiny little shops, and they have comic books and they have merchandise and memorabilia and such like that. This place is like the best term I can put is the Costco of comic book shops. So you go from one store and there's another section, and it's just huge. They have Funkos. They have tons and tons and tons of stuff in there. I mean, it's hard to explain. But if you have any geekdom out there, Famous Faces and Funnies have got it covered for you, from Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, everything. And also Rick is the guy who runs it, and all the team over there, nice, friendly people. Definitely want to check out our friends at Famous Faces and Funnies in the West Melbourne area if you're out there.
Hello, I'm Katie Manning, and I played Jo Grant in Doctor Who, later to become Jo Grant Jones in the Sarah Jane Adventures, and you're listening to Mark Who 42. Isn't that the answer to life?
Welcome back to Mark Who 42. Wow, we've had a great show. We've been talking he said, she said about Jodie Whittaker being the 13th Doctor. I think us men had a great point of view, didn't we, guys?
Yeah. I was stoked. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, and, of course, the women were just as well. It was fun. And let me just go. We had, of course, Kellen Harkins. We had Molly Marcus, Nisha Mulchin, and Patricia Freyer for the women. And for the men, of course, we have Dr. Squee.
Hello.
John Reed Adams.
Yay.
And Patrick Baumgardner. No relation. Or maybe there is. We don't know. We have to go back to Ellis Island and check the records.
If there is, Patrick, my condolences.
You might want to get that.
Back at you.
But, Christian, we kind of left you hanging about a half an hour ago with something you wanted to say, your point of view on the
here's my final take on everything, guys. This is the show that I grew up with. I am so happy that it came back years later so that the generation who are growing up today understand and appreciate and love the show that I grew up with way back when. And I hope that this show goes way beyond me in my lifetime and continues to go on and on for generations to appreciate what I came to know and love. Having said that, for the folks who feel that they're going to ditch the episode because of this, I'm asking you nicely, guys, give it a chance. You're passing up a great opportunity. We don't know what's going to happen. And that's the beautiful thing about Doctor Who. It changes. It's constantly changing. And for this show to evolve and to continue on, it needs to change. There's no way that this show can go back to 1963 with all the black and white, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey sets and continue on. It has to evolve. It has to change. And this is, to me, change. There's changes in attitudes, changes in technology, changes in lifestyles, changes in ways, and Doctor Who has to adapt to that. And I feel that if you're just ditching because of this reason, you are giving yourself, you're missing a great opportunity.
Even if this kind of Doctor doesn't turn out to be your cup of tea, you've had 54 years of your favourite show. You can't complain too much.
And you'll get another Doctor in a couple of years.
Exactly.
Yes. You don't have to like every story episode. You don't have to like every Doctor. That's fair enough.
Yeah,
Everybody has to take an investment.
And I still love the show.
Everybody has
I still defend Rings of Akaten, and it's
well, that'll be another show. We'll talk about that.
Everybody has a different stake in it. Everybody has a different take, and that's fair. You go on with what you want to. And if anything, you can at least say if you tried Jodie, you gave it a couple episodes and you tried it, then we can't fault you for not being there. And if you come back later, that's fine. That's up to you. But don't give yourself a disservice by just bailing out. Give it a chance. This is what's wonderful about Doctor Who. It'll change. It'll be uncomfortable, but then give it a shot, give it a chance, and then later on, I think you will appreciate it down the line how wonderful thing is. Now, for the counterpoint for my fellow Whovians who are snapped to judge to people who are disenfranchised by what happened, don't just bail out on them. Don't send them a meme of hate or tell them, you know what, if you don't understand Doctor Who, talk to them. Take time. Earn their respect. Because maybe there's something that you don't know about them. And like I said in the episode from Captain Kirk, people can be frightened of change. Don't berate them because they don't want to change. Help them out because they may need help to change.
But
and
Kirk's
understand what's going on.
the guy who said, what does God need with a spaceship? So I don't know if
ruining my moment there. Thanks for stomping on something wonderful. But
the answer to that is power steering.
Power steering is very good.
Don't just jump on other Whovians who had a love for the show and just may not be able to handle this change. It is hard for people to change in general, period. But if you give them the time, show them respect, talk to them, ask them what may be feeling uncomfortable, and then maybe even invite them and say, hey, you know what, let's go watch Jodie together. Let's watch the first 2 episodes, and if you still don't like it, I'll understand you bail, that's fine. But I still want you to love the show that I appreciate, and I still want you to love the show for what you love about it as well as I do. And this is what being a Whovian is about. It's about togetherness. It's about love. It's about what would the Doctor do. And it's not to just go out there and make people feel bad about themselves because of what they believe. They will take the time to go in there. If you give them the time to just show them, hey, this is a wonderful series. Things are going to change. But let me not just shun you out because you're just not keeping up with it. Let me bring you up. Let me be better. Let me go down to your level, bring you up to what's so wonderful about the show. And if you take the time to do that, I'm sure that a lot of these people who are sending out all these hate memes may turn their heads and go, you know what, you're right. Let's do this. Or not. But let's give him a chance. Can I just
tag up on that quickly? Because, I mean, for me, it was evil, the reaction which I saw that Peter Davison got when he was asked a question at a panel. He didn't volunteer this. He was asked what he thought of a female Doctor. And he gave his opinion. And I don't agree with it. I don't think that you have to be male to be a male role model.
Right.
But he just gave his opinion.
The women touched upon that during their segment,
But I just thought the way people attacked him was just as bad as people sort of being nasty towards Jodie.
Exactly.
And people started on Peter Purvis because he gave his opinion as well. And it's like, Jesus Christ, just give them a break. They just said what they thought. Like, you know, you can disagree, you can talk to them about it if they want to talk to you about it, but you can't just hate them for having a different opinion to you.
Exactly. And that just and what's that going to do? That's just going to make them go away, and you wonder why the ratings are going down and down, 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 down. Make them come back. Make them see your perspective, their point of view, because if they don't see what you see in Doctor Who through your eyes, they only are going to see it through their eyes, and that'll be the end of it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I do want to say one thing. I said this to Supercon. I'll say this again. If I ever meet, not to preach, I don't want people preaching hate. I want people to give her a chance. But if anybody comes up to me and starts making Nurse Who jokes, I seriously will slap you because that is offensive. That is just wrong. People who put those memes were mean, cruel, and women can be doctors. I know it. I have relatives. Please. Let's not be name-calling on this.
Well, someone's saying the Daleks better not go after her when it's her time of the month, and I think that's ridiculous. The Doctor's over 2,000 years old. He must have gone through the menopause by now.
Oh, yeah. I think they're going to slap that person, too, if they come up to me and say that.
Okay, so anyway, convention announcement.
Oh, yeah, we have conventions.
It's a nice
coming
little
up,
segue here.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, Mark, we have 3 conventions coming up, 3 wonderful conventions starting beginning of September. Their 3rd year, the Space Coast Convention Center, Space Coast Comic-Con, located on 301 Tucker Lane, Cocoa, Florida, and it's inside the Holiday Inn Express for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, September the 8th through the 10th. Be there, get your tickets online right now. They're putting up their guest list. We're not on there as of yet, but we are up for the Spacey Awards for our 2nd attempt, and we won the first year.
Second attempt, we got our first attempt. So
yeah, it's our second attempt at the Spacey Awards. So fingers crossed for us. It's a little different. It's not a voting thing anymore. It's a judging thing. So cross your fingers that the judges are in our favor. But again, September the 8th through the 10th at the Space Coast Convention Center. Also coming up September 29th through October 1st at the Tampa Bay Convention Center. And we are on the guest list for MegaCon Tampa Bay. I think this is their 2nd year. Yeah, but we've been there every year. But we will be hosting panels. I haven't worked out the logistics as of yet. How many panels? We will have a booth. Not sure if it will be the Mark Who 42 booth.
Well, it will be a Mark Who 42 booth, but it probably won't have merchandise, unlike the Space Coast Comic-Con, which will be full of our.
Yeah, we'll keep you appraised of that. What that booth's going to be. If it's just going to be just coming up in discussion, we're working out all the logistics on that. But definitely September 29th to October 1st at the Tampa Bay Convention Center. Now the next one up, I definitely love Time Lord Expo. But guess what? I'm going to step out, and for this, Patrick, please take over and tell us a little bit more about Time Lord Expo in Dayton, Ohio.
Okay, well, we're doing a not-so-little convention in Dayton on 14th and 15th, again in Dayton, Ohio. Dayton, Fairborn, Ohio. Fairborn is one of those little suburbs of Dayton itself. We're going to be at the Holiday Inn on 2800 Presidential Drive in Fairborn. We're going to be having, Paul McGann is going to be there, and I say it that way because we've had a lot of people inquiring. There was a local convention here that had some problems, but anyway, Paul is doing a new TV series, but Paul has asked for the time off, and he has been granted the time off to be with us. Eve McIntosh is going to be there. She is one of our newest additions.
Oh, Eve McIntosh is going to be there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
See, I did. We have to add.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And Rosie Jane, who played Bill's mom in the last season, she's going to be there. It's her first ever American appearance. She's going to be with us. And, of course, Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred.
Oh, my girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah, Terry Malloy's coming in.
Sylvester McCoy's your girlfriend?
No, Sophie Aldred was my girlfriend when I was growing up. Come on, you don't know this? Oh, you have to. We'll
Did
have
she know about it?
later. She knows about it. Yeah, we've had. Yes, she knows all about it.
Okay.
That's all. She would be my girlfriend if she didn't know about it. But we broke up, but we're still friends.
Anyway, Ian McNeice and
Simon Fisher Becker.
Yes, sir.
Caitlin Blackford.
Simon favorite Blue Man
Bill is going to be with us, and James Callahan, who does work on the Big Finish audios, he's going to be with us. So we're just going to have a really great time. We've got photo op. The whole idea of the convention itself is to keep it kind of like the older Doctor Who conventions where you're actually going to have time with the guests.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're trying to go old-fashioned feel. Yes.
There are 2 more. There's another guest I think you might want to mention. I think you might want to mention this one other guest.
Yeah, you mean these guys from Mark Who 42? Those guys?
Yeah, well, I wasn't talking, but yeah, Mark Who 42 is coming. But no, isn't there a guest somewhere via Skype or something?
Oh, that guy.
Yeah, because that guy is like the one that. You might want to mention him.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Tom Baker.
Yeah.
Is doing a
what?
Yeah.
You got Tom Baker.
Saturday morning, 14th at 9 a.m. That's Tom's choosing of his time. He's going to be with us for an hour doing questions and answers. It's going to be, the whole two-way on the big screen. He's looking forward to it. We are too. We're fortunate to have him. This is only the second Skype appearance he has done in recent years, and I believe only the second here in the United States in quite a long time. So, yeah, Tom is thrilled about it. We are thrilled, and the fans are. So it's going to be.
Oh, I'm thrilled. I get to virtually meet the Tom. My hero.
More information is coming to you at markwho42.net. Check out our Facebook page and our Twitter site for more information about this. Space Coast Comic Con, you'll have to go to their site for the meantime, and Mega Con Tampa Bay. We're going to be putting them on the Mark Who 42 site, but Time Lord Expo is on our site, and you can click on there and it'll take you directly to the ticket sales. Get your tickets now. This is going to be an exciting event. 3 doctors. Alone just being part of this event is just completely wild. But for that, please come to markwho42.net. We are now an iHeartRadio.
Yeah, so you can definitely find us at markwho42.net. You can go to our Facebook page, markwho42. Tweet us at markwho42. You can go to our new Instagram page, markwho42. We've got Tumblr, markwho42, Path, markwho42. In fact, just Google it.
Pretty much anywhere in the WHOniverse now.
On the podcast zone. And of course, we are on Krypton Radio 4 times a week, and iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio. I just could go on and on, but I can't because we are out of time.
Gentlemen, any final words before we go?
All we are saying is give Jodie a chance.
Yes, we should sing that. We should sing it on the way out. All we are saying
is give
Jodie a chance. Anyway, have TARDIS will travel. You'll hear from us next time on Mark Who 42. Mark Who 42 is written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Christian Basel, Patty Hawkins, Iggy Mathews, and Zion Kiros. This episode was edited, directed, and produced by Mark Baumgarten and co-produced by Christian Basel. Visit markwho42.net where you can register and become part of the WHOniverse Army. We can be contacted by email at mark@markwho42, subject line, ? If you'd like a chance to be a guest on our radio show, send an email to our media relations director, Christian Basel, at markwho42media@yahoo.com. You can have Mark Who 42 entertain at your next event or convention. Go to heroesonhand.com/markwho42. Space Coast Comics is a free monthly magazine found in over 120 locations currently throughout Brevard County, parts of Osceola, Volusia, and Indian River County in Florida, and available in Chicago. Follow them on Facebook to learn more. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. This show is owned and copyrighted by Mark Who 42 Enterprises, LLC, 2017.